Well, we've been talking about the regulatory fallout from the AT&T purchase of T-Mobile. But what about the people behind the deal? What happens to them? For more, we are joined from Mountain View, California by Rick Devine. He's the managing partner and founder of Devine Capital Partners. Rick specializes in executive recruiting in the technology industry and also was the person who placed Tim Cook at Apple. Rick, great to have you back on the program.
Good morning, Betty.
Before we get to the AT&T and T-Mobile deal and what that means for senior management, let me just ask you about Steve Jobs real quickly, because we know that he got renominated to the Disney board. Were you surprised at the amount of shareholder reaction to his missing board meetings and the value he brings to Disney?
No, I'm not. I mean, Steve is a very valuable member of that board. He's the largest individual shareholder. He tends to work through his illnesses, and I'm not surprised at all. It's business as usual for Steve.
The fact that it was questioned, though, what does that tell you about Jobs' value?
Well, I think there's just a lot of interest around his involvement day to day and during his illness. And I think there's a general perception that he's wanted on that board, desired to be involved with those discussions about their strategic future. And I think it's just another indication of how important he is to that company. Right,
and how much he adds in shareholder value to Disney. Rick, okay, let's talk about AT&T and T-Mobile. You can imagine a huge deal like this. You've got to wonder, what do they do with their senior management structure now, right? How soon are we going to see some executives leave because of this deal?
Well, first of all, I believe this is a great opportunity for the Silicon Valley, and in my view, it's a byproduct of the success of Apple. The mobile internet is growing at a dramatically increased rate of evolution than the traditional internet, and these networks, these 3G networks, which is the primary technology of AT&T, are under tremendous pressure to expand their capacity for people using iPhones and iPads. And T-Mobile's U.S. operation is the largest provider of 4G, and I think it's an excellent opportunity for innovators in the Silicon Valley that are building applications that need that platform.
But what does that mean for talent movement?
Well, I think there will be some fallout on the T-Mobile USA side with this acquisition if it goes through. But I also think it's a great opportunity for the many startups in the Silicon Valley that require these 4G networks to roll out. So on one hand, it's going to spur additional innovation and creativity, job creation in the Silicon Valley. On the other, it will mean some managerial churn at the top level at T-Mobile USA.
You mean so that you can see AT&T and T-Mobile, a newly merged company, hiring more of the talent in Silicon Valley? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think they might, in fact, hire additional talent, but it also means all these startups in the Silicon Valley that rely on this mobile broadband expansion and all the Silicon Valley investment community that are funding those companies, they should have more hope today that their applications that require that bandwidth will be enabled by the extension of this additional network capacity by AT&T.
Right, by the 4G. Rick, do you know the CEO, Randall Stephenson at AT&T?
I don't, but I understand Randall to be an exceptional integrator. If you look at the history, his history with SBC, and of course their merger with AT&T 5 years ago, there is precedent for Randall driving synergies and integrating these companies quite effectively.
How is he going to make sure to retain his best talent there?
Well, if you look at the senior leadership of AT&T, about 30% of the overall company was original AT&T, and the rest are legacy SBC executives. My guess is that it'll be a similar situation for T-Mobile. There will be some number of executives that will remain with the company going forward, but over time, within 6 months or a year, you'll probably see a number of those executives drift away and do other things.
Okay, and then you might get even more busy then. Rick, thank you very much for joining us. Rick Devine of Devine Capital Partners.